Today we are joined by a very special guest, Winston McCall, frontman of the mighty Parkway Drive. The band is celebrating over 2 decades of breaking boundaries in heavy music, and they'll be back in Prague, November 7th, for a massive headline show with the artist Murder and the AMITY Affliction. Winston, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
To start off, you once described Parkway Drive's fan base as a really lovable ball of barbed wire. I love that. I love that image. Can you share a moment that really showed you off that the mix of raw energy and genuine warmth from your fans?
I think, like, to be honest, there's not one moment. I think anyone who's a metalhead or a hardcore kid or just anyone that's been into like the alternative music scene in general knows the feeling of, I guess, outside perception of it being scary and dangerous and mosh pits looking crazy intense. Like we're kind of like a cartoon to so many people who aren't within this scene, but the reality of it is so different. Like everyone within this scene have always been the nicest, kindest, best people I've met on the planet. And living in this scene and being in it for so long, it is that idea of there being this outside image of it being so spiky and aggressive and scary, but the reality of it is just really like warm. It's a really amazing community. So it's strange. Like I said that on like a national television show in Australia, and it seemed like the kind of perfect analogy. So I love the fact that people understood what it meant. So it's nice.
That's true, but I'm genuinely curious because I've never been to Australia, right? So what's the general view on the metal scene in Australia? Because I mean, like, it's a continent itself, so the perception over there should be different, like from the European one and the one in United States, and so on and so on. So what's the
It's
general
still very
view?
underground. It's
But
still
it's still
very, yeah, yeah. In like it's interesting because it's only underground in its perception. With the shows we have here, the tours that come through are awesome, like absolutely amazing, massive support. The scene is absolutely incredible. Like our metal scene in Australia is actually probably the strongest scene for any type of music in this entire country. But it still has that stigma of it. We don't have mainstream radio play. There's very little mainstream media coverage of, oh God, wait up. People trying to call me for no reason. God. There's still like there's no mainstream coverage of these like of bands or anything like that. And it kind of just all gets still not focused on,
Mhm.
even though it's a really, really big part of a lot of people's lives in this country. So it's strange. Like we I think because it's still so far away and we still have a couple of music festivals a year that are just like metal music festivals, but that's it. There's a tendency for people to think that it's just isolated to these small events that happen, which aren't small in reality. They're the biggest music festivals in the country at the moment, and like they're the biggest tours that come through, other than just the pop stars, are metal tours. But still, it's almost to the point where it's undeniably big. But I get the feeling that the media still want to like. They still love their little cartoon of like, oh yeah, that cute screamy music. You're like, no, man, this is a big deal in this country. So yeah.
All right, all right. So let me stay in Australia for a little bit because earlier this year you played a huge show at the Sydney Opera House, which was described as possibly the loudest ever there. So
Yeah, yeah.
you even debuted the single Sacred live over
Yeah.
there. Looking back, what made that night stand out as such a historic moment for you? I mean, like playing in Sydney Opera House itself is a historic moment, but for you personally, what was it?
Um, there's so many elements to it that were special. It really was like the most amazing show we've ever played. And probably the craziest part for us was it went by really fast and then it was done. We're so used to playing a tour, and you put together a tour and a show, and you play it once, and you get to absorb a little bit of the experience, and then you play it again, and you play it again, and you play it again, and you get more chances for the experience to sink in and you to appreciate it. But this was once and then finished, and then it's done. It was gone, it was like the most fleeting moment in the band's existence, and at the same time, one of the largest moments. It was a very strange experience to be able to walk towards the most famous building in our entire country, the Opera House, which is, even walking towards it is so impressive. It is the most beautiful building I've seen in the world, and go, that's where we're playing. And to be able to walk in and have the stage set out in a completely different way from anything we'd set up before. There's grass, we're playing on grass with beautiful Australian flowers, and there's the 70 other musicians on stage with you. It was completely different. And it would have been about 12 hours between our rehearsal, because we only had one rehearsal, and that was
Oh,
that afternoon before we played. So our day was arrive at the Opera House, get ready, rehearse the show for the first time with the orchestra, eat some food, and then play the show. So it was about 12 hours of this experience of being in the Opera House with no one there but us and the orchestra, playing to nobody, and then the crowd arriving, and everyone was dressed in their best dress, like all suits, beautiful gowns. It was all seated. There was no crowd barrier. There's no mosh pit. There's no crowd surfing or anything. So it was all just this completely different energy, completely different. So it's so strange because I don't have anything to compare that to, and I probably never will. It was just this very incredible day in our career.
well, never say never, you know.
Yeah, never say never. Never say never.
I saw so many like posts on Instagram specifically, and so many stories from other Australian bands or like members from the bands, you know. For example, Alpha Wolf. I know that the guitarist from Alpha Wolf, I forgot the name, Sabian was there.
David, yeah.
And he was so gassed for the show, you know, because that was something completely different. And just to hear it from you, I got chills, you know, all on my
Oh,
butt.
thank you.
I mean, like
Yeah.
that must be something. That must be something.
Yeah, dude. It was something that, like, you kind of can't dream of having that opportunity. And that's why we did it, because the opportunity was presented. Wasn't something we had planned. Someone came to us and said, "Hey, you can play the Opera House in this date, which we've got organized, and we can film it." And we had the opportunity to do it. It's not like we could say, "Yeah, you know what? Maybe we'll try again some other time," because you never know. You never know. They might just go, "Nah, you know what? No, we
Yeah.
don't we don't want that kind of music." But they were all about it, so we just had to go for it. So it was just so cool to be able to put something together like that and have our songs sound the way they sounded, because we put them together in a way that was not. I mean, that's the heaviest we've ever sounded.
Okay.
It wasn't. We didn't make it sound softer. We found a way to get the orchestra to make us sound heavier. So it was yeah, it was very, very loud, but it was incredible to be able to hear the music we've created put in a new, I guess, in a new frame by this extra curation. So yeah, it was awesome.
Well, speaking about like huge shows and big steps, you've mentioned before that the next big step for Parkway Drive would be stadium shows. Yeah.
Yeah.
What's your vision for translating the Parkway Drive live experience into that kind of setting?
Oh God, I love that I've thrown that out there. Like, this is
Well,
just like
like I've seen you last. When was it? Last year at a festival? Yeah, it was at Rock for People here in Czechia.
yeah,
When I
yeah.
saw the show, I was like, yeah. Well, obviously the next step should be stadiums because like this is a huge show. So you've played on the second biggest stage on the festival, and I was like, that stage is small for you. You should have the biggest stage. And I mean it. Like the production
Yeah, yeah,
itself, like you know.
yeah.
So yeah. So
I
back to
mean,
the question, like, what's the vision for translating the
oh,
experience?
there's more we can do. I mean, what we've been doing on it came about the idea of just like, yeah, stadium actually being something which I said, this is what we want to do instead of it just being a dream, actually started being a real conversation when we did the 20-year anniversary tour in Australia last year, because essentially the show that we've created for this tour was a stadium show that we just smashed into an arena. So it's already way too big for for the rooms that we're playing in. It the same kind of thing as like in the festival stage, like the production's too big for the festival stage. But I mean, we've always just been about trying to create moments which are either change the way that you look at what we've created in the music or amplify what we've done to a whole new level where it creates a memory that you just will never forget. And it's a very basic concept to kind of build upon, of just looking at what we love about what we do and trying to make the intimate moment feel intimate. Like even if you're playing, you want to make it feel like if you're playing in an arena or playing in a stadium and you play an intimate song, that it feels like you're right there face to face. But then at the same point in time, we want to have that moment where everything is on fire and you don't know what the hell is going on. The sound is absolutely crushing and you're like, I can't even comprehend what's going on. My mind is going to melt. So between the two there, we've got a lot to be able to work with. And the more space we're given as a band, it's just like it's more of a play set for our imagination to see what we can do. We've got no problem with being able to figure out what to do on those areas.
And on the contrary, I mean, like you've been doing shows like in huge rooms, we mentioned the Sydney Opera House and stuff, huge festival stages. But on the contrary, have you ever like thought about getting back to the small rooms? I mean, like do a special tour across Australia or Europe or United States? Because I remember back in the day, I mean, it's like 15 years ago, but the first time I saw you was in a room for 700 people. You were
Yeah, that's even big.
you were headlining. That's true, but
Yeah.
yeah. How about getting like back and like I don't know, just doing a special tour celebrating an old album or something like that. Have you ever thought about it? Because
Yeah, we have.
so many bands are doing this right now. For example, Metallica did it. So
Yeah. So it's an interesting one because it's a bit of a push and pull for us because we do love the idea of doing it. The but we also don't like people missing out. And as soon as we play rooms that I guess, yeah, within the hundreds kind of thing,
mm,
all of a sudden you're either playing way too many shows on a tour. Like we can't fit enough shows in for the amount of people that want to see the band. And the
mm,
experience is I like it's a fantastic experience to be able to do that. And I absolutely I love it just as much as I love putting on the crazy arena show or being on the festival like stage. I love just playing a wild show where there's no barrier and it's just you and people and sweat and sound and that's it. But I also just don't like the idea of people just missing out on like getting a ticket.
yeah,
So
but yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, that's right. I
that
mean,
makes sense. Like
yeah,
it's something we do try and figure out how to do. I think the thing for us is just it's not so much a tour. It's more here's here's a pop-up show. Like if you're onto it, you're onto it. Rather than like here's a tour, 15 dates. There's probably going to be 20,000 tickets to the entire tour, so you know that like 60,000 people are going to miss out on seeing you, which
mm,
is that kind of bummer part of it. So we've always just kind of juggled those around. But that being said, like we like that experience. We just got to figure out how to pull it off. We haven't worked it out yet. So it seems
yeah,
that every time we go to do something, we keep having those ideas come around because anniversaries for the band or an album or something comes around, but then we're like, okay, let's do something small. But then all of a sudden the band spikes in popularity again, and we're like, fuck, we'd have to do 20 shows in that one city, like just to fit everyone from that one city. And I'm like, we can't play a month in that city. Doesn't make sense. So yeah.
I
Yeah.
see that. Yeah, yeah, makes sense. Makes total sense. But one last thing about the shows, in just a couple of months, I mentioned it at the beginning. In just a couple of months, you are coming back to Prague with the Artist Mode and
Mm.
the AMITY Affliction. That's a huge lineup.
Yeah.
What excites you the most about returning here with that package? And what can fans expect from this show compared to the last time you played in Prague?
Another step up to start with for the show. The show is great. Like I feel like the show that we've created is the best Parkway show that we've created. It's the best articulation of everything I said before of capturing the rawness and the intimacy of just it's just five guys who love playing music and that connection with the audience, and also those moments that do just make you melt your mind. And the thing that I really love about this tour and this package is, I remember the first time I think it was Prague that we played the first Czech show, and it was in a basement of possibly, God, it might have been a university or something like that, and we opened for Dead to Fall and Darkest Hour and a bunch of other bands on our like the first time we were over there, and there was probably about 15 people watching us.
Let
And
me let me check as you speak because I'm quite curious. Let me check.
would have been 2007 or 2006, I believe. So
I need to check because I maybe possibly I
could be
was
there.
at that show because but first show mentioned on Setlist FM is 2006. 2006. That's the smallest venue that we have basically in here in.
Yeah, yeah. So we played that and we opened it. Yeah, and there was a pole in the middle of it, like a cement
Yeah,
pole as well.
yeah.
So yeah, I can remember playing that show, and that entire tour was our first tour that we did overseas. And the whole time because we're selling our t-shirts and everything, we're meeting people, and it was absolutely amazing. And so many people like, where are you from? We're like, Australia, and they're like, they have like metal in Australia. Like, and that was it. Like, it was people couldn't believe that there was a scene of any kind in Australia. So to be 20 years on and to be doing an arena tour as a band through Europe and coming back through Prague and be able to have that arena show and all Australian bands with us is so sick. Like it makes me so happy to know that we've gone as a country, like with this music genre, from something that everyone outside of Australia had no idea we even existed, to be able to reach these levels, and there be three Australian bands be able to play a show together and people know all their names and go, hell yeah, that's a show I want to see. That's what makes me really, really happy.
But it happened so much like during those 20 years. I mean,
Yeah.
like the scene itself from Australia grew, and now it's like for us, for Europeans, it's basically the Australian scene is like the best from the metal scene right now.
It's what everyone says. It's so sick. It's
Yep.
like we went from nothing to having like this. It's like the gold standard.
That's right. And everyone's joking about the fact that what they are giving into a water because
Oh
like
no, yeah,
every single band that comes up from Australia is like a huge deal. So
yeah, yeah.
I mean,
It's really cool, and I have a lot of pride in that because it's still not easy to get out of this country in general to tour. Like it costs a lot of money to like just to get your band to Europe to tour is like tens of thousands of dollars in plane tickets alone. Like so for anyone making it out, like I just know what it takes for someone in this country to go, I want to start playing that music. And when they do get to the point where they're touring, to go, yeah, I'm gonna save up all this money and I'm gonna go on tour because I love doing it. And that's why the bands sound good, because they just love what they do. It's just
but
commitment.
then again, you should also have some pride in like you being the OGs of the metal scene in Australia. I mean, like speaking about the bands that I knew personally, like for example, Polaris, Northlane, even the Artist Murder or Wind Waker or many other bands, they are also like most of the time they are citing or quoting you that you are the first band that ever came like from the Australian metal scene. So I mean, like
Thank you.
you as a band being like the founding fathers of, of Australian metal. I mean,
Here's the thing with it as well. For I hear that from all of those guys, and it warms my heart. It's very nice. I'm always a champion for our scene. But there were bands from our country that we looked up to before we started as well, and like a lot of them don't exist anymore, and a whole bunch of people like now probably don't even know they existed. And I love the fact that people are like, Parkway, yep, they were at the forefront of it. But I always wanted people to know that like we didn't come out of nothing. Like the scene was here before we were here. It might have been in a time when it was a lot harder to find the music and names might have disappeared over time and people weren't there to see it. But we definitely weren't the first. But I'm really proud of where we stand in our history and be able to be that champion. But it's like everything with history. You always remember where you came from, and it's that thing. I'm not going to take credit for being the first in this country. I'll take credit for being the biggest, but I'll pay a lot to the people who inspired me before we came forward.
Oh, that's so nicely said. That's so nicely said. That's so true. But we are coming to an end soon. So I have to close this with a one last and a lighter question. Not a
Sure.
question about shows or anything like that, but on a lighter note, there's been talk of your drummer Ben giving Chris Hemsworth drum lessons.
Yeah,
Maybe
yeah,
this is maybe even connected to Ed Sheeran somehow, as I heard.
yeah.
But how did that connection happen, and what's the real story behind it? Is there something
What's
more?
the real story, dude? It's just really really random. Like it the if anyone hasn't seen the Limitless episode, it's on Chris Hemsworth's show Limitless on Disney and stuff, and it's actually a really cool episode. It was one of the strangest experiences ever to walk into a jam, a band practice, and Ben goes, "So Chris Hemsworth needs to learn how to play drums for Ed Sheeran." And I think he wants me to teach him. Like, that's not a sentence I expected to hear today. But yeah, I mean, Ben's friends with him in the first place, and it just happened to be this really random occurrence because he could have learnt the guitar, and then none of us would have been involved. He would have had another guitarist friend, but it just happened to be drums, and Ben's the best drummer in his country. So, and it's his friend. So it was a real strange coincidence that all that came about. And then the entire journey of that project was, that we were involved in was bizarre because Ben was giving us the updates and then we ended up on the show. And then all of a sudden Ben's having to fly off to Bucharest to be there while Chris plays the drums with Ed Sheeran. I'm like, what world are we living in? This is so bizarre. Like, it's strange. It's just like, wait up. We got Parkway Drive, Ed Sheeran, and Chris Hemsworth. That is not the collaboration I thought we were going to be having at any point in our career.
That's true. Yeah. It sounds like unbelievable, but this is the world that we are living in right now. So
Yeah, that's it, man. Thor plays drums for us. It's sick.
yeah, right.
I'm basically an Avenger.
Anyways, Winston, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me today. And one last question that I have for you, because yeah, the show here in Prague and the tour itself is coming close. The latest single that you have with Parkway Drive, the Sacred one, was released in May, earlier this
Oh,
May.
was that?
Yeah. And is there anything new coming out, like before the tour starts, or can you share an insight if there's
I
anything?
don't think before the tour starts, we definitely have stuff. But
Okay.
we have like things are cooking. We're definitely cooking here. The thing with the tour was like even dropping Sacred and it going so well, we're like, oh my God, now we've got a brand new song to play on a 20-year anniversary tour. Like people are kind of pumped on the idea of hearing some old stuff, and now we're dropping new stuff, like kind of counterproductive. So we've definitely switched some stuff up in our set list, but there's nothing new that's going to be in. I mean, Sacred will be, but there's not going to be any other singles dropped before that tour comes around. But that being said, definitely keep your eyes and ears peeled.
All
Yeah,
right, all right, all right. Okay, so I can't wait to see Parkway Drive back in Prague on once again November 7th with the artist model and the AMITY Affliction, and it will be definitely an unforgettable night. And once again, thank you so much for your time
pleasure. Thank
and
you.
for the chat. And for everyone watching or hearing this interview, don't forget to listen to Parkway Drive to buy your tickets to the Prague show on November 2nd, 7th, sorry, and to any other shows during the tour. You know what?
Yeah,
And yeah, that's about that. Thank you so much, Winston, once again, and have a great day.
pleasure. Thank you very much. Cheers.
All right. Cheers.